There was an old lighthouse that stood tall, overlooking the sea. By day it was a towering sight, a man-made tower standing in a stark contrast of the natural elements of the sea and the rolling countryside. By night, the lighthouse was a beacon, guiding sailors back home, through waves and wind and rain. This made the lighthouse keeper's job a serious one, for they quite literally held the lives of sailors in their hands. Based on their guidance, a sailor could make it home safe, or experience a disastrous wreck. The lighthouse was on no travel guide, no top 10 list, no brochure. But it was known to keen travelers for its vintage beauty against the surrounding landscape. Many photographers and explorers would travel off the beaten path to get a shot or catch a glimpse of it. Many fishermen and keepers knew the lighthouse for a different reason, however. A reason not many tourists or travelers or explorers knew. There was a myth surrounding the old lighthouse of a keeper from many years back who claimed to have seen something coming out of the water. Something big. Something menacing. Something unexplainable. The story was passed down from keeper to keeper, from sailor to fisherman, from seaman to seaman. It became a folktale, a scary story parents told their children to stop them from hanging around the water unsupervised. A myth, told drunkenly by fishermen after a few rounds at the pub. A legend, told excitedly in hushed tones and whispers from keeper to keeper, each both dreading, yet hoping for a view of the elusive beast. Years came and went, and the legend stayed just that. One night, a particularly harsh storm brewed up, seemingly out of nowhere. While many modern lighthouses had automated the process of monitoring and bulb changing by this point, the old lighthouse still relied on a manned presence to maintain the equipment and make sure everything ran smoothly. On that night, that manned presence came in the form of Jeremy Maris, a young wiry man with more seafaring experience than most his age. His father was captain of a fishing vessel, which had gone missing a few years ago. And despite the prodding from his mother and sister to find a different trade, Jeremy, like his dad, was drawn to the sea. His mother accepted his work at the lighthouse, as he wasn't out on the water and, as she felt, wasn't in any immediate danger. On calm days during his shift, he sometimes found himself simply staring out into the blue glass of the sea, as the sun shone off the lumbering waves and glittered like a living treasure. Every once in a while he would find himself imagining a ship, slowly appearing off the horizon. A ship holding a crew that had been lost for the past few years. His father's ship. Tonight, however, was anything but calm. Rain poured. Thunder crackled, lightning flashed. The waves crashing against the rocks below sounded like the howling of a ferocious beast. Jeremy eyed the waters with sharp focus. No ships were scheduled to come in tonight, but with a storm this bad, there could be a ship nearby that decided to dock to escape the storm. He saw a ship quite a distance away appear. White sails, though furled, flapping furiously in the increasingly violent wind. Instinctively, he beamed the light toward the ship, angling it so they could see the clearest path through the rough waters to reach the port. He attempted to call to the town on his radio, but it was dead. No radio frequency coming from the ship in the distance either. It was far, but from what he could tell, it was fashioned in a very old style, with a wooden hull and mast. He looked through the glass of his binoculars to see if he could spot any crew members, but it was too far away. Although it was being knocked about by the waves, the mysterious ship seemed to be making good headway toward the port. As it neared, he could begin to make out some details through the glass. The ship was indeed fashioned out of wood, and from what he saw had a beautiful molding, complete with a carved mermaid on the bow. The wooden mast stretched high like trees. He couldn't make out any crew members, but reasoned there must have been some on board, due to the visible lights he could barely see flickering below the deck. He rechecked the beam from the light and retried his radio. The radio was dead. He focused all his attention onto the ship in the distance, almost willing it forward. "They'll make it," he told himself reassuringly. "As long as they keep the course, they'll make it. It's a tough ship, and it looks like the storm is letting up a bit." All of a sudden, to his horror, he saw a particularly large wave rise against the ship's starboard side. It rose and rose, and he winced as he waited for it to slam against the side of the ship. But instead of breaking, the top of the wave burst, and a massive tentacle emerged from the water, illuminated only by the glint of lightning and slivers of moonlight peeking from behind the storm clouds. The tentacle shot into the air like a rocket and twisted around the ship like a snake. Within seconds, the appendage had a grip on the ship. He saw the wood splintering and the masts leaning in under the pressure. Another dark shadow rose from the water on the opposite side. Another tentacle. Jeremy watched in bewilderment as yet two more tentacles slithered out of the stormy waters and slowly wrapped around the defenseless ship like a snake coiling around a rat. Between the lightning strikes, he saw the ship break apart as it was slowly pulled under the waves by the arms of this horrific beast. All at once, the storm calmed, and the clouds slowly melted away. The sky went from a pitch black to a bluish gray as the sunrise neared. His heart beating, sweat and rain dripping down his face and his hands shaking, he lifted his binoculars to his face and scanned the water. Not a trace of the beast or the mysterious ship remained. It was as if nothing happened. No floating debris, no bodies, no dark figure looming underneath the waves. Nothing. The sea was calm once again, and Jeremy was left staring into the gray expanse of the sea, wondering what it is he had just seen. The night after his shift, Jeremy went to the pub. He knew it wasn't prudent for him to speak about what he'd seen. Just another storyteller. That's what they'd think of him. Or perhaps they'd think him crazy. But there was one person he could talk to. An old sailor who no longer traveled the sea. Many claimed he was the man who started the ghastly rumors of the creature beneath the depths of the sea in the first place. Jeremy spotted him sitting alone in the back of the pub as he usually did. "Sir?" Jeremy asked quietly.
What is it, young man?
I was wondering if you could tell me your experience the night you saw the thing in the water. The old sailor bristled and grabbed his mug, taking a big sip before sighing.
Well, I've recounted it more times than I can remember. I suppose I can do it once more. It was fairly late. I had the shift at the lighthouse and the skies were clear for most of the day, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a great storm set in, like someone had turned on a switch or something. As the storm got worse and worse, I started seeing a ship emerge in the distance. Thinking he was looking to come to port and wait out the storm, I did what any good watchman would do. I tried to guide him to safety. Only that ain't how it went down. Before he ever made it, I saw with my own 2 eyes tentacles emerge from the depths below and crush that ship, dragging it under the waves. It was probably the most horrifying thing I think I'd ever seen. Probably ever will.
He took a swig of his beer once again. Jeremy was silent for a moment, and then he asked, "Do you remember what the ship looked like?" The old sailor turned to face Jeremy. "Son, I don't think I'll ever forget. The ship was old style, wood with intricate molding. A big mermaid carved on the bow." Jeremy decided after that day he would no longer have dealings with the sea. Perhaps he would try masonry work instead.